Hello. Hello. Yes, so we are live. Welcome, everyone. Do not look at the scenery behind. I don't know if the background can be changed. We are going to work basically on understanding the life of Tukaram Maharaj. That is the plan for today's program. Why Tukaram Maharaj? Because many people know in Maharashtra that the two solid pillars of spirituality for every Maharashtrian are Jnaneshwar Maharaj and Tukaram Maharaj. Gyanba Tukaram. They are the solid pillars, and all the saints of Maharashtra have contributed to making the life of an average Maharashtrian very rich. So we will like to understand in English. Why in English? Because many people do read about Tukaram Maharaj's life in other languages, in Marathi, but it is important that those who do not know Marathi, people outside Maharashtra, people outside India, should also be able to understand and appreciate the greatness of Tukaram Maharaj. So, for that, we need to understand the background in which he had to live his life and how he excelled and overcame all the constraints and stayed focused on his objective and ultimately won the heart of the maker of the universe, Lord Vishnu himself. So, this is the beauty of Tukaram Maharaj's life story, and we want to have something very authentic. So, there is a book which is published in 1869 by Induprakash and written by one Mr. Shastri. So, I will like to read from that book, and let us make a beginning. If you have any questions, you can send messages, and after finishing for about half an hour, 30 minutes, I think I'll take a break and see if I can find some of those comments. Okay, so let me try to open the life story of Tukaram Maharaj. I hope you are able to see my image. I don't know if there's going to be any change in that. I don't suppose so. So, it appears to be a universal law that from the perusal of great and inspiring works, the curiosity of the reader is transferred to enquiry respecting the minds whence they emanated. In the case of the songs or abhangas of Tukarama, this is especially the case. If there is one characteristic more conspicuous than another, which distinguishes the writings of Tukaram from those of others who have been reckoned by the Maratha nation as its sacred poets and religious guides, it is the personal stamp of the man which they bear. The same truths that he has inculcated have been written upon by almost all religious and moral writers, but they have been breathed out by him in a way which is peculiar to himself. So they are talking about Tukaram Maharaj, that the same thing which all the religions have said about religion and morality, Tukaram Maharaj has also said the same thing, but in a peculiar manner, which is very peculiar only to Tukaram Maharaj. At every Abhanga, embodying a great and noble truth, the poet, as it were, personally stands before the reader and makes its utterance in his own peculiar way, unmindful and uninfluenced by any worldly consideration. Others, again, intensely devotional, cannot be understood in their full force without the reader's picturing to his mind the condition and mode of life of the wonderful man from whom they emanated. See, this is very important. We need to understand the person from whom the Abhangas are coming. Once you understand the person, the Abhangas meaning starts becoming more and more easily clear. So there is still a third portion which is entirely personal, alluding to several passages in the life of the poet and which cannot be understood or appreciated without a knowledge of the events to which they allude. Besides the importance of a knowledge of Tukaram's life to understand his poems, there is one other point which makes such a knowledge of extreme importance. Tukaram represents the time when the Maratha nation, long sunk under Mohammedan despotism, made a grand and successful effort to recover its independence and established in the heart of the Mohammedan Empire a kingdom which within 100 years shook to its foundation the Musnad or throne of the great Mughal himself. Contemporaries of the great Shivaji himself, the lives of Tukarama and Ramdas, who was Shivaji Maharaj's personal instructor, give an insight into the moral and religious condition of the nation at the commencement of the short, brilliant interval of 200 years during which the Maratha people breathed independent nationality. That is a great time in the history. Maratha, what a word it is. They have used what a nice sentence. Maratha people breathed independent nationality. That's what we are doing today. Today we are breathing independence. Viewed in this light, an investigation of Tukaram's life becomes of great historical importance. This is the reason, my friends, I am going to narrate Tukaram Maharaj's life to you in English from an authentic old book. It is not, however, the object of this short notice to accomplish this task. It must be effected by some future biographer by a thorough study of the works of Tukaram himself and of the historical events of the time in which he lived. It is intended here, I'm reading this from his book. It is intended here principally to bring together those passages in his Abhangas which bear on his personal history and tend to give a personal picture of the great moral teacher to whom Western media has given birth. I don't understand the meaning. A personal picture of the great moral teacher to whom Western India has given birth. I don't know, but let me see. The biographer's task in writing a faithful life of any of the guiding spirits who, in their time, influenced the Hindu nation is extremely difficult. The idea of recording events faithfully for the information of after ages never existed in the nation. Whenever the influence on the succeeding generations of any of the important personages has been great enough, to induce somebody to write his biography, the tendency towards deification has been so great that the little of real events that has descended by tradition has been mixed up with fable to such a degree as to almost defy all attempts at separation. What it is saying is that when you try to write history of a great man, people treat him like a god, and they put stories which were probably not even true, and they glorify, they magnify even small events in his life. And these kind of problems are faced if you're writing somebody's biography. But in case of Tukaram Maharaj, what we have is he himself has composed Abhanga for those events. So we have no risk of that exaggeration. In Tukarama's case, however, the single advantage, see, this is exactly what the author is saying. I just said something from my own hunch. See, let's see. So I will read this once again. Whenever the influence on the succeeding generations of any of the important personages has been great enough to induce somebody to write his biography, the tendency towards deification has been so great that the little of real events that has descended by tradition has been mixed up with fable to such a degree as to almost defy all attempts at separation. In Tukarama's case, however, the singular advantage that a biographer possesses is the free outspokenness of that remarkable man, frank in the extreme, with a mind constantly working to give vent in metrical form to anything and everything that was uppermost in his mind at the time. Tukaram has himself recorded almost every incident of his life. What has been aimed at, therefore, in this notice is to bring together the several passages in the following collection bearing on the poet's life, linking them together by the light furnished by the mythological account of Mahipati, who flourished about a century ago and was himself a poet and biographer of Santa, saints. So we have Mahipati, who wrote about many saints, including Tukaram Maharaj, and so many stories are written by Mahipati, plus the Abhangas of Tukaram Maharaj. Together, using these together, Mr. Shastri has written this biography of Tukaram Maharaj, and I'm very happy that while reading this biography, we are going to deal with, we are going to read, and we are going to understand many of his Abhanga. So the beauty is multiplied, not doubled, I will say four times. It was at least four times. We are going to learn about the life of Tukaram Maharaj and also about the beauty of his Abhanga. So it is called Dugdha Sharkara Yoga, I would say. So let us continue. And what I'm going to do is half an hour today, and again, maybe next Sunday, half an hour. And in half an hour sessions, we will continue to read these. Please let me know if you are viewing this video. Let me know what would be the ideal frequency. When would you like to have the next part of the reading? Like this, going in half an hour sessions, we can continue and complete this book, and then I can move on to another book which is in Marathi by another author. So let us proceed further. What has been aimed at, therefore, in this notice is to bring together the several passages in the following collection, bearing on the poet's life, linking them together by the light furnished by the mythological account of Mahipati, who flourished about a century ago and was himself a poet and biographer of the saints. Tukaram was by caste a shoodra and by profession a vani or corn chandler and retail dealer. He was born and lived in the village of Dehu, about 16 miles northwest of Pune. The correct date of his birth appears to be the year of Shalivahana 1530, or the year of Christ 1608, though it has been placed by some in AC 1588. Some people say he was born in 1588. There's a 20-year difference for the death of his date of his death, rather disappearance, not death, disappearance from Dehu has been accurately mentioned in the following collection to be the 2nd of Falgun, Monday morning, Shake 1571, the name of the year being Virodhi. The corresponding year of Christ is 1649, 1649. Now, it is generally believed that Tukaram disappeared from this world in his 42nd year, which is confirmed by the statement of Mahipati that the first half of his life ended with his bankruptcy, which is mentioned as having taken place in his 21st year. This gives the year of Christ 1608 as the date of his birth. Another reason for regarding the year AC 1588 as the year of Tukaram's birth to be incorrect is afforded by the fact that at the time when Tukaram disappeared, his wife was pregnant and gave birth soon after to a son named Vithoba after Tukaram's favorite deity. Should AC 1588 be taken as the correct date, Tukaram's disappearance and the birth of his youngest son would be placed in the 62nd year of his age, an age too advanced in the view of the traditions which we possess to have about it the probability of truth. So that's not true. 1588 is not right. The members of the Karam's family from remote ancestors were devotees of the god Vithoba of Pandharpur, where they used to make regular pilgrimages like Varkaris. They are known as Varkaris. As Varkaris. Mahipati gives the following list of Tukaram's ancestors and states some of them, all of them, to be pious men given to religious devotion, except Hari and Mukunda, who entered the service of the state and fell in the battlefield. So Hari and Mukunda were warriors. Let's see the names. His eighth generation ancestor was Vishwambhara, who had two sons. One is Hari and second was Mukunda. So Mukunda died without issue. Then Vithoba was the son of Hari. Vithoba's son is at fourth position, Padaji. Fifth position, Padaji's son is Shankara. Shankara's son in sixth generation is Kanhaiya, and seventh generation is Bolhoji or Boldhoba. That was Tukaram Maharaj's father, and eighth generation was Tukaram. It is related that when Vishwambara was he had come of age, his mother advised him to go to Pandharpur regularly on pilgrimage, as was the custom of his ancestors. Oh, so when Vishwambara grew up to be a young man, his mother advised him to go to Pandharpur Wari. Accordingly, he resolved to visit it on the 11th of each half of every month. That is called the Ekadashi. Lunar cycles. Ekadashi is the 11th day of the lunar cycle. and made 16 such visits when one night he had a dream which led to the discovery of Swayambhu, or the self existent images of Vithoba and Rakhumai, his wife, underground. They are saying underground in this book. I have read somewhere else that those were in the river Indrayani, and it came in his dream. And Vishwambara was told in his dream to go in the river and check, and Vithoba himself wanted to come and be there in Dehu. So the idols of Vithoba and Rakhumai were found in the river. He placed them in a small temple on the banks of the Indrayani, the river on which Dehu is situated, and thence discontinued his visits to Pandharpur. Thus began that devotedness to Vithoba and a general tendency towards religious devotion in Vishwambara's family, which culminated in the birth of the subject of his biographical notice. Tukaram was one of three sons of Boldhoba. When Boldhoba became old, he wished to entrust the management of the family to his eldest son Sauji, which, however, the latter refused, as he was a devotional turn of mind and did not wish to engage his attention in worldly concerns. Thereupon, Tukaram was initiated into the family business from his 13th year, which he carried on well for some time. He had two wives, Rakuma and Jizai, the first of whom died in the 20th year of her husband's age. He also lost a son named Santu in the same year. He had already lost his parents and his elder brother's wife. Before this, the brother also leaving the house on pilgrimage. The famine and consequent bankruptcy completed the cup of his earthly sorrow, which so disgusted him of all worldly pursuits that he gave them up and became a devotee of Vithoba at Dehu. He himself relates in Abhangas 1333 to 1335. These numbers are according to the sequence which they have used in the Gatha. They will not match with the sequence in which I have been presenting Gatha on Facebook and in my translation books, which are titled as Divine Verses Abhanga Gatha, which are coming in volumes. Those numbers are based on the copy of Shirvalkar, Mr. Maharaj, Haribhakta Parayan Shirvalkar Maharaj, Gangu Tatya, Gangu Kaka. And these numbers are not going to match those numbers. So let us say he himself relates in Abhangas the causes which led him originally to take this course in answer to a query on that point by his brother devotees. His account is as follows. So now the beauty starts. We are going to learn from the Abhanga of the Tukaram Maharaj about his own life, the way he has told. And this is all translated in English. Okay, it's very nice. He says, by caste a shoodra, I carried on trade. This god Vithoba was the family god from the beginning. I ought not to speak on this matter, but have given respect to the words of you sages to answer the question you have asked. I became tormented by the extreme miseries of this life after the death of my parents. The famine exhausted all my money and made me honorless, and one wife of mine died asking for food. Shame overcame me. I lost my quiet.